welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would share with you some of the books that I am planning to finish in January 2023. And I say finish because some of them are books that I started before. One of them is a carryover from 2022, meaning I started reading it in December, didn't finish, so I intend to finish it this month. But another one or two of those books are books that I started at some point last year and just didn't finish. I don't like to DNF books. If I have invested the time to read a book and have gotten some considerable way into the book, I don't like to abandon it. I like to know how the story resolves, whether it's novel or nonfiction. You don't have to do that with short story collections or anything else like that, but generally, once I have started a story, I want to know how it resolves. So sometimes I'm just not interested in the book right now, or I just feel like I can't read the book right now because of other things that are happening, and I'll put it aside. And if I put it aside for a long enough time, I feel like some of the details have gotten a little murky and I need to start the book again. So at least one of those books, at least one of the books on my January TBR, because that's what we're calling this list, at least one of those books is like that. Started it, got some way into it. It's a book that I want to read, kind of need to read, or so I've told myself. And so I'm going to start again. So here are the books that are on my January 2023 TBR, little dance for the TBR, because until I made my TBR, I wasn't sure where to start my January reading. Like, now that I don't have books that I need to continue and books that I just need to read, some of those actually need to reads, but I just wasn't sure what to pick up until I made this list. So first book on the list is, I was tempted to give you the first book on my physical list, but no, the first book on my list is One Sky Day / Poppy Show by Leonie Ross, because that is the Run Right Reads Book Club selection for January 2023. Hi book clubbers, if you are reading Poppy Show or One Sky Day, those are the alternate titles. If you're reading that book with me and the other book club participants, then thank you. So excited to have you join us. We have one new reader this month, Rebecca. Hi Rebecca. And several people who are returning to the book club from last year, or I shouldn't say returning, who are continuing with the book club In any case, I'm just so happy for all the people who are going to be reading Caribbean literature with me in 2023. And so yeah, our first title is Poppy Show. I don't yet have my copy because I am getting a copy from the library. It's actually there for me to pick up later today, so I'll go pick it up when I go get my daughter from school. Woo-hoo-hoo. Very excited about that. So that's the first book on my January 2023 TBR. Second book is Glory by Navala Bilowe, because I haven't finished this book. I'm still reading it with my buddies. We all said we would try to finish before the end of 2022. I don't know if anyone did, but I certainly didn't. I still have this much. So I'm at page 261 and the book goes to about 400. Exactly 400. I'll probably finish that in the next couple of days. So that's why this list is books to finish, right? Because started that, continuing it in January 2023, and I'll finish in 2023. That is the plan. That is the goal. Then the next book is the book that I started. And I'm going to have to restart because I've taken so much time away from it. It's this book, The Wonderful Adventures of Mrs. Seacole in Many Lands by Mary Seacole. I started reading this for Nonfiction November. My bookmark fell out, so I'm not sure where. I was using the tag from the library. I was using the receipt from the library as the bookmark, so the bookmark fell out. I don't know where I am. I think I may have gotten to page 50 something. But in any case, I'm starting again. So that's the next book on my TBR, is this one. Then I have a couple of books from publishers that I put on my list for a book challenge that I'm participating in. This is my Facebook challenge. And I created a list to meet some prompts that were given by the challenge organizers. And so this was a gift from Penguin Random House. I asked them to send me a copy of this book. Very excited to read this because it's a novel set in Queens, which is where I live now, and it is by an author of color, a woman of color. So very excited to read this. This is Brown Girls by Daphne Palasi Andreades, and that's the author right there. It says she was born and raised in Queens, New York, and she has her MFA from Columbia University. Very excited to read this one, and so I put it on a list for my Facebook challenge, which means that I get extra motivation, extra boost to read this book very soon, and then I can, write a promo or write a blog review or something, thanking Penguin Random House for sending me these books, and hopefully getting more books from them in the future. Also got this one from Penguin Random House, The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams, and I did not know that Pip Williams was Australian, right? I think that's why I chose this. I chose this for a prompt on the Facebook challenge where the request was to read a book by an author who is Australian or lives in Australia, and it says Pip Williams. That's the author right there. She was born in London, grew up in Sydney, and now lives in the Adelaide Hills of South Australia. So this book was gifted to me by the publishers several months ago, and I didn't get to it when I first got it. But this is part of my backlog, as I'm trying to read books that publishers sent me last year that I didn't get to before I start requesting new books. So The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams is on my priority list for January, and it is historical fiction, I think, 370 pages or so. So very excited to read that one. Then this was not from the publishers, but this was a book of the month pick a long time ago. I think these books tell you what month. Did it tell you what month they were book of the month selections? This one doesn't say, although I think I requested this as like an add-on, so it wasn't necessarily from the month where it was a book club selection, book of the month club selection, I mean. So this is Erik Larson's Devil in the White City, and this is about the World's Fair in Chicago. And fun fact, there was a category on Jeopardy yesterday or the day before. There was a category on Jeopardy featuring Erik Larson and all of his book titles and the subjects that they cover. It was fantastic because I knew almost all of them. So we were watching the show live, and I missed the first clue, and it was red. So I didn't get to the first clue that was red. It wasn't the first in the list. It was just the first one that someone chose. So I didn't get that one, but I got every other clue. So there were 6 clues, and I got 5 out of the 6 of them because I love Erik Larson's books. So hi to my buddy readers who introduced me to Erik Larson's writings, Patrice and Doris and Heidi. We enjoy reading this author together. They have read this one. I haven't yet, so I just need to catch up. So because Erik Larson was featured on Jeopardy a couple of nights ago, we're going to make sure that we get to this book in January, right? So that's why it's on this TBR list. Like, I'm a mood reader, guys. I'm a mood reader inspired by lots of different things. So The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson is on my priority list for January, but it's also one of the books that I chose to meet a prompt for the Facebook challenge that I'm participating in. So yeah, 3 of these books on my TBR are for that challenge. Other titles that I chose because they are backlog books, got this one from the publishers a long time ago. When they reprinted A Passage to India by E.M. Forster, Penguin Random House sent me this complimentary copy, and I did a promo on Instagram, so I fulfilled my requirement to the publishers, but I really want to read the book. It's also on my list of classics and backlist titles that I wanted to get to in 2022, and I've carried over to 2023, so I want to try to make sure get to this one very soon this year, so it's on my priority list for January. A Passage to India, E.M. Forster, a classic. And as I try to read more diversely, read books that are set in other places in the world, that's a good one, I think. Author is British, but the book is set in India, so we'll get a little bit off the Indo-European. So we'll get a little of that Indo-European perspective. I don't know. We'll see when we get to it. And then this was definitely an impulse selection Like, you know, when you go to the supermarket and they have candy close to the checkout counter to tempt you because you're hungry when you're buying food. At my library, they have these shelves that are located right where you check out books. Like, okay, you already made your selections at the back shelves, but before you go, you might want to check out this book. Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. I've read her first 2 books and loved them. I loved Everything I Never Told You, and I loved Little Fires Everywhere. So have high expectations for Our Missing Hearts, and I love this cover. It's a feather, and then out of the feather are these birds flying. Like, the visual is just beautiful. I don't know what it means, but the visual is beautiful, and I have not looked up the synopsis because I have found that with Celeste Ng's books, you want to go in them not knowing anything. That's been my experience thus far. So we'll see. So that's on my list for January, as is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, because I should have read this already. It's been on my Classics and Backlist TBR list for a year now. But also it's one of those books that come up in conversation. It's a banned book. It's all of that. So I want to read it. And I got this copy from the library, and it's short. Just less than 200 pages. So we're going to try to finish that. We're going to try to read that in January. And then one more, because why not? One more. Matilda by Roald Dahl, illustrated by Quentin Blake. I love this cover. And it's a book. It's a children's book. I know it's a children's book. And so the print is huge. And there are pictures, which means that this is going to be a quick read. So hopefully I'll be able to read this in the next couple of days. 240 pages of children's literature. Fantastic. And then 2 more titles. Two more titles I don't have physical copies for. One is The Girls by Edna Ferber, because I'm buddy reading that with Columbus and Rosalie, and I'm very excited to be reading with them again in 2023 because we have read some fantastic books together in the past couple of years, and I'm looking forward to the titles that we will read together again because our discussions are fantastic. So going to be reading this and looking forward to it, starting that in the next couple of days as well. So I'm getting a Kindle download because I couldn't find a print version from my library. So I'm purchasing a Kindle download. But yeah, I'm supposed to be participating in this project where I read more of my books before I buy new books. But one of the caveats is that you can buy a book to participate in a group read if you can't get access to the book otherwise. So that's why I'm buying that book. And then the final book is Anne of the Island by L.M. Montgomery, which is another selection for the Facebook Reading Challenge. And I'm going to be reading that online, free copy from Project Gutenberg, because I feel like I should always be reading a book on my phone. So yeah, those are the 12 or 13 titles that I'm prioritizing in January. I'm giving myself room to replace one or a few of these books with other titles as it becomes necessary. And of course, if I finish all of these books within a reasonable amount of time, then I can just read whatever else I want to read for the rest of the month. So yeah, that's my January TBR. I would love to know from you what you're prioritizing as you're reading in January. What book did you start off the year with? Have you finished a book already? I haven't. But yeah, would love to chat with you in the comments down below. So let's chat down there. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until we come back for another video, happy reading. Bye.